Hello. I'm sorry for the ingestion. Hmm. How are we? We are. Yeah, I'm glad you have power again, Em. This shit sucks. Actually, I hope we didn't just fuck up in that regard. Had kind of a slightly different day. It was as busy as usual, but we popped out to get groceries. Hey, I hope we didn't fuck up actually. Well, because the forecast is basically only thunder and lightning for a number of days.
Oh, you're worried about the freezer stuff?
Yeah, imagine if we lose power for hours and hours.
Go out for like a fucking huge amount of time.
Yeah.
Shit happens. We should be fine. It's a couple hours here and there.
Guess we'll see. I don't like gas. I'd rather not have to deal with gas at all. Um, but yeah, we popped out to go get groceries after the tariff news. That was my first thought was like we should probably go get a lot of like longer term, long shelf life and freezer stuff. So that's what we did.
I got all of the frozen fruit.
We got all the frozen fruit.
All of it. They don't have any more.
It's all gone. It'll be back.
The fruit?
Yeah. Oh, do I have a water on my desk? It's empty. I guess I did not. Yeah, I feel like supply chains seemed like they never really fully recovered. I feel like there's a lot of ever since the lockdowns and the supply chain collapse. Felt like afterwards there was still a lot of stuff that just never really managed to consistently be available in the stores.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess I just have never in my life been in a situation where I needed to cook during a power outage. Have you?
This right foot of mine is gonna fall off.
Blake, thank you for 90 months.
Um, I have cooked during a power outage. Need is probably stretching it.
It just kind of feels like one of those things where, like, that's one of the things people will say is a benefit, but in
Oh,
practice
like
doesn't
gas?
really, yeah,
Oh.
doesn't really come up,
It
you know?
depends on where you are. Like, my parents live in Texas, and they have power outages like every week, every couple weeks.
Yeah, I guess if you have that kind of shit going on.
Yeah, like, then yeah, 100%. But, like, to have a gas stove for the, I don't know, 1 hour a year isn't really worth it.
I hate the other forms of the like OU and AU words. I don't think I'll ever feel like I read them correctly.
What? What do you mean?
Well, like gouging.
Oh.
I know that's spelled right, but it looks like googing. And then there was another one I saw earlier today, and I did a double take when I read it, and I was like, no, that's right, but it just didn't look right. But unfortunately, I can't remember what word it was. The shit that we have on gas, it doesn't even help us to be on gas.
Well, we have two furnaces.
Yeah, and they
That's
don't
the
work when the
only
power's
thing.
out.
Yeah, they do. Well, okay, one of them does.
One works without power, the other does not. So I guess there's that. That is nice, I suppose.
Uh,
I just hate gas. We shouldn't use it anyway because it's a fucking fossil fuel. But the heater actually is a good argument. And I guess considering if you're in an area where there's more frequent power outages, the stove thing is a better argument than I gave
yeah.
it credit for. But nevertheless, I still think it's bad. Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah. There's also the potential negative consequences. I mean, every now and then a house explodes entirely, just wiped off the
That's
face of the earth.
that's the reason I don't like having propane tanks. Because
And
I feel like I'm way too accident prone. I would just end up killing all of us.
then yeah, if you have a leak, it's a deadly leak. You don't really have an electricity leak usually,
No.
unless you try to fuck with your electrical and didn't turn off the main.
Yeah, I'd rather
I
just have
don't
like a backup generator.
I don't know that it is more efficient. I don't think that that's right.
I think it used to be. I don't know if it is anymore.
I hate fucking articles that like don't get to the fucking point, to be honest. Uh, uh, apparently, it takes about 3 times as much energy for an electric stove versus a gas stove.
Hi, Bun. She's really pissed off that I'm standing here.
Holy shit. There's,
Wow.
yeah, there's a study in 2013 that said gas stoves account for roughly 12.7% of childhood asthma. That's nuts. The American Gas Association disputes the data. Yeah, I bet they do. I bet they fucking do. How did we get this way where we give a fuck that the the organization named People Who Sell Gas are opposed to this study that says we're giving children asthma? Why do we take that seriously? Like they don't have an obvious conflict of interest? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, that's why it shows up in articles like it's a point that matters. Every fucking I feel like it's like in every article where there's something like that, there'll be a similar sort of the organization of corporations that profit off of this said that this study is bunk. And I gotta believe in there's enough people out there who who actually think that that's a great point. The org declined to comment. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're in the peak of a corporatocracy right now. So I'm just like, we got here somehow, right? I think it's maybe not so much that people read that and go, that's an interesting point that the American Gas Association makes. But that, well, I mean, just think back to remember when this was like a newsworthy argument that happened? I don't remember when that was. It was like 2 years ago when everybody was yelling about it. For some reason, it's not that people would come here, read this article, and go like, "Oh yeah, I agree with what the American Gas Association has to say." It's that essentially, I guess, team sports mentality. So like, it kind of is like a narrative that gets issued down from the top, right? So there's some like 90-year-old dude whose entire family legacy is based off of his like fucking $1 billion gas operation. And he's pals with someone who runs shit at like Fox News or whatever. They direct their fucking idiots to be all like, they're saying gas stoves are woke. And then it just sort of, that's, that's how it happens. It's not like people read articles like this and they go, I think the American Gas Association is right. You can breathe gas even, I think. That's not how it happens. That's how everything happens. I'm in the camp of being fine with paying a bit more for the betterment of society at large, whether that's taxes or my stove is a little less efficient, so my electric bill is a little bit higher. I think this is just what you get when you have like, you know, 70 years of pummeling people's heads with anti-collectivism in even the most minute degree, right? Like any collectivism, anything that benefits your neighbor, that's communism. So, you know, after beating people in the brain with that for decades and decades, people just don't really think about, they don't really have like a sense of civic duty. There's like no altruism. There's no understanding of like why taxes are good. Taxes are just bad. Nothing good has ever come from taxes. I said civil duty, and it's probably not the right term, but I basically meant like a sort of general understanding that all of us contributing to society together is beneficial for everyone. Just that, basically, is what I was driving at. The American Association Against Tax Reform disputes this claim. Yeah. I just have this on my mind too much right now. I'm sorry that it's all I talk about when I do these check in streams, but I just have it on my mind. I have it on my mind. Because as I've talked about before, I think a lot of things that people take for granted are about to just disappear into the ether. And people really don't understand how much we rely on these invisible things that people did, that federal employees did, that departments took care of. You know, they took care of us, they took care of our neighborhoods, they take care of our environments, the wildlife, our health. They took care of the poor. That's the shit they're getting rid of first, is the stuff that takes care of the poor. There's going to be so many people that are just left to drown. Um, like the fucking people that, oops, we had a clerical error, and now you're in a cage. You've had your head shaved. You've had your entire life taken away from you, and you're in a different country, in some sort of a nightmare super prison, and we're not going to fix it. I don't understand. Like, I think there's only one moral precept that everyone should agree on, and it's the fucking golden rule. I don't understand how anybody could witness that and not think, man, I would not like that if that happened to me. I would not like that if that happened to my spouse or my child or anyone in my family. So how can people sit by and be like, yeah, that's fine. There'll be some collateral damage. They're not thinking like that, but it's in the Bible. Golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. I mean, a lot of people who say it's a clerical error that we're not going to fix also know what's in the Bible. Not all of them are just saying that. There's plenty of people. There's like, I was never one of those freaks who was able to like rattle something off from the Bible and then give you the chapter and verse. I always felt like that was freak shit, but there sure are lots of people who can do that. When I quoted it, then I felt like I should have been able to say the chapter and verse just to give it the weight of, like I know exactly where it is in the Bible. I'm non-religious, of course, but if that's the one takeaway uh, I came out of it with after I exited Christianity. The one thing I thought was good was the golden rule. But for some reason, the stuff that people quote is the weird, stupid shit like that I can't make any sense of morally. I can't make any sense out of like Noah's story, for instance. God made a guy make a boat, and then God killed everybody except for him and whatever he had on the boat. I don't understand what the moral teaching is, and I don't know why people repeat that story so much. Or the fucking story about what was it? It's another one they repeat a lot. That fucking faith test. I think it was Abraham, where God's like, "Kill your son," and the whole point of the story is just proving that he believes in God, but he can hear God. He heard God tell him to kill his son. He also heard God tell him to not kill his son. So what is this? What is the fucking point of the fucking story? Or another one, the what's his name? Is it Lot who who that's true, Brett. Even in Indiana Jones, Lot's wife who gets like turned to turned to a pillar of salt just for looking backwards. What's what's being taught there? And they don't bring up the rest of that story where like what the fuck happens? It's insane what happens after that. They don't bring this part of the story up, but like shortly after that, I think Lot and his daughters go take refuge in like a cave, and then his daughters rape him or something like that. And then God kills them with bears, I think. Or I might be confusing that with another story. I think there's another story where there were like some kids that made fun of this guy for being bald, and the bald guy like asked God to smite them, and he killed the kids with bears. I don't even know. But like what? Okay, so I'm mixing the two stories together. Suffice to say, I've recently been thinking a lot about the golden rule. Is basically what I was driving at. I think what happens in these extreme situations to me is that my mind searches for like what is the simplest, like how do you simplify this all down? And so my mind just kind of like latches on to certain concepts and just worries on them. It's pointless because there's no use for overthinking about this stuff. But I think that some part of my brain wishes I could somehow, I don't know, it's just that desire that you have. Maybe I don't know if I'm alone in this, but sometimes you just want to be able to grab certain people and just scream in their face and shake them. Just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What is fucking wrong with you? And just not being able to do that, so you can just never satisfy that feeling. No, I know. Me also. Me also. I think one of the wildest contrasts is if you think about do any of you remember the fucking photo of them perp walking Luigi in New York? And amongst the like group of super soldiers that are walking Luigi to court was Eric fucking Adams, super criminal. And they're pushing the death penalty for Luigi. And they dropped charges against Eric Adams with prejudice so that he can't be charged again. What a fucking contrast. I mean, does that not just fucking underscore this whole fucking thing? Eric Adams is the most like fucking dumbass doofus criminal there ever was. Everything that he did is super fucking obvious. There's basically texts that say like also remember not to say the illegal things I'm doing in the text when you talk to me, you know, like stuff like that. He's just a dumb fucking idiot. And basically it's just a whole like corrupt like we have to get him off the hook so he'll be in our pocket for deporting anybody who gives a shit that there's a genocide in Palestine. Just the worst shit you can think of is happening all the time now. Just the worst shit you can think of. Thunder has started again. So the dogs are agitated. But yeah, I would, if you have the space and the money, I would recommend probably going out and getting some like long shelf life groceries, freezable groceries, and stocking up right now. Because this is like, this tariff thing today is going to kind of hit us from a lot of different angles, I think. Because on the one hand, there's the direct, obvious, like the tariffs are a tax on the poor. And then there's the indirect, the stores are just going to raise prices regardless because they tested out like just openly price gouging during and after the pandemic. And there were no consequences. So they're just going to do more of that. And then the other factor being that there's a strong likelihood that this fucking tanks the economy. So it's probably a good idea to prepare. Not panic, but prepare. Just in case. That's what we did. We filled up our freezers. We got a lot of rice. I don't know what it's going to take for these consequences to finally occur. It's definitely, there's plenty of people alluding to consequences, but there's not a lot of having any sort of like coherent idea where that begins or how it goes. Learn to grow food is tough because you have to have certain things available to even be able to begin to do that. We, for instance, yeah, we don't have any land, we don't have any yard, we don't have anywhere to grow anything. You can do it indoors, but that requires an investment in indoor growing equipment if you're going to do it successfully. Well, I mean, it's more than potted plants, right? You're not going to live off of like one tomato plant in a pot. If we're talking about learning to grow food. Bread tree. um, well, my view on that is we shouldn't have to know. The at least that's my take on like advancement of society. It's like the reason people don't know these like survival like I don't know. I always find those people who like complain about well all these worthless modern people don't know how to live off the land. Like they don't need to know how to live off the land. They do other things with their time. We have time because of that, you know. That's the difference between modern society and past society and even more past society.
I can't live off the land.
Yeah,
I'm not built for that.
you can. But the thing is that you need a society that's functioning. You have to care for your society. You have to keep it going. Because if it stops functioning, that's when you have the problem of well, we are no longer supporting all the people that didn't have to know how to live off the land. So yeah, I mean if society fucking goes away, then it's a problem.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to make flour.
You are.
Also, I have a green thumb. Or a black thumb. Sorry, the opposite of green. I kill all plants. I would be a scourge to any farming community. I walk down, they just wilt.
I would agree with impractical, yeah. Anyway, I am gonna get on out of here, folks. Sorry for the late stream again. I hope you understand, and I hope you have a good night. I'll see you guys next time. Be safe.